And with the flip of a switch, we are back at it. This is the official start of the Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor season. This is the season preview show. So Razor and I are going to get you up to date on all things Boston Bruins and maybe a couple of other things too. Welcome into the show. Welcome to everybody listening or watching as we're back on YouTube. We may even be live streaming soon, very soon, in fact, as well. So we will keep you updated on that. Razor, great to see you. Before we get to anything, though, we always love to give love. How's that for double love to our sponsors because they've been awesome. One sponsor in particular this year stepping up even more, and we can't thank them enough. Fazenda Coffee, Boston's coffee roaster, the boutique coffee roaster there is really special to us. They've been with us basically since the start, and they're going to be leading off the show regularly. Visit fazendacoffee.com/morningbrew or fazendacoffee.com/wholesale because they are so big into the wholesale business. So whether you're running a cafe or just looking for a great cup of coffee at home, Fazenda Coffee has got you covered. Check out the special morning brew blend. It's crafted for Bruins fans and perfect for your morning brew. Cafes, bakeries, and restaurants, you explore their wholesale program, and you can serve the same quality coffee that's trusted by Boston's best. FazendaCoffee.com/morningbrew to learn more. Shop today. Thank you, Fazenda, and all you have done. Razor, thank you. And thank to RC as well. The man, the myth, the legend, RC, back behind the curtain again, running the show from there as we kick off the 24-25 season. We are recording this on early Monday morning, Razor. We were actually going to do it Sunday, and glad we didn't early Sunday morning.
Good thing.
Because
although might have happened right when we were going to record too, right? Like it actually could have been, might not have had to record 3 times yesterday.
Right. It might not have, but we're talking about the signing of one goaltender, young Jeremy Swayman, signs to an 8-year, $8.25 per year deal. So he gets a little more than the $64 million that was put out there a few days ago. He gets what I think he obviously felt he needed to get. The Bruins probably went to the threshold they felt that they would go to, and they get it done. Starting with Swayman, because it is the news du jour. It is the most topical thing. Are you happy with the deal?
I'm extremely happy, probably like you, that it's over with.
Very much.
First and foremost. And really, there's probably a lot of that feeling throughout the organization, all the way to Jeremy Swayman, like just having it over with. Last week was certainly the peak. And we talked about it. We talked about it probably at the end of the day after stepping away from a few days from the press conference and the statements, et cetera, that was going to close the gap. And we talked about pressure points and what's the next pressure point when you're actually getting paid. When it actually matters against the cap, and it actually matters what's going in your bank account, and that ultimately is what got this deal done. Both parties, it was going to actually affect them monetarily, and it's nice to get it done. Nice to get Jeremy on the ice yesterday on Sunday morning. Nice to get him on the plane, and nice to have it over with. So at the end of the day, I don't think it really mattered dollars and cents. Once you get into the 8 range, 7.5, 8.25, 8.5, 8 whatever it was, I think this will be a good deal for both guys. And if Jeremy Swayman goes out and wins the Conn Smythe Trophy this season, he's still going to be happy with $66 million, I think. And that ultimately is the sign of a good deal.
Do you think both parties, when it's all said and done, I mean, obviously they signed the deal, but do you think they each made their statement, for lack of a better term, meaning they both feel like they were able to say, okay, we got what we want? And I guess that's in the end what you need or want out of a negotiation, where both sides feel they gave a little but got a lot to get the deal done. Do you think that happened here?
I do. I think Jeremy got his somewhat pound of flesh by dragging it out and making them have a press conference and making them talk about him for 2 weeks, and he can put everything in the back. Like, that's never going to happen again. There's no arbitration, there's no free agent or restricted. All of that will never happen again in his career, in his life. And then from the Bruins point of view, they got their guy for 8 years. They got their goalie that they drafted, that they developed, that they've made good, that they've believed in, and now they have him for 8 years. And you look at what Don Sweeney and Cam Neely have built and what they have for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Pretty impressive. It's really impressive, the core that they have in place for the next 6 to 8 to 9 years in David Pastrnak. So they feel good about it on their side, that they got the deal done. They fought through it. They dealt with some criticism, but they got their guy for 8 years, and they don't have to really worry about goaltending, assuming that Jeremy continues to build his career like they think he will.
Right. That's the big assumption. And look, you could say the same thing about Charlie and his mega deal he signed recently, and David and his big deal that he signed, that they now have to progress and live up to the expectations, the monetary value of the deal. They might not every year, but over the course of the deal, that's what you need. If you don't, you're in trouble. Let's be honest. These are big ticket deals right there. And with regard to Jeremy Swayman, he's in what top? He's tied with Sorokin. What is it for top 5 paid goalie in the NHL? Was that very important to him? You think, with getting to that Sorokin level? You see stuff of that. I mean, because he knew he was at 8, and then he asked for more than that, and they came to 8.25. So he ties Sorokin. They both have the exact same deal. And by the way, Sorokin signed his deal partly last season for this season. And Sorokin didn't have a good year last year. Now, I don't know if that was the pressure of the deal, the quality of the team of the Islanders, or just a mental thing for him. But he didn't have a great first year. But yet again, first year last year, it wasn't the deal. But there is pressure associated with this deal.
Oh, yeah. No, he's no longer the fresh-faced new kid that played at Maine that, he got a chance in the playoffs and he went on a run. Well, no, now you got to go on that run every year. And of course, there's going to be a couple seasons where it's down a little bit, and seasons that, you assume are up. You could talk about Vasilevsky as well. There's going to be an injury over the 8 years. There's going to be probably some kind of a surgery at some point over the 8 years. Like, this is all kind of built into the deal. But again, these aren't gambles, right? They're not like throwing, playing blackjack in the casino. This is more poker, and they've got to know this kid, and they understand what he's made of. They understand his competitiveness, his hard work. They know that he is going to give everything he has to be very good. He wants to be the best goaltender. So dollars and cents, I'm not really sure. I'm curious if we will get more of an idea of what Jeremy was thinking around all of this through, maybe in the off. I don't know, just at some point, like, not what now. He actually thinks. We won't now. It's not. No. Yeah, it's going to be very quiet now when it comes to this. But again, I think knowing that the cap is going to go up the way it's going to go up, this is going to be favorable. And then on his side, he's got $66 million in the bank. So now he's like probably up to 72 in his career. He's probably, again, the ultimate for all NHL guys is $100 million. Guys look at their whole, like, the guys who are the absolute greatest of all time look at $100 million. And he has a chance to still be that at some point. So that's how guys look at their dollars kind of overall. I don't think they necessarily look at what I am, in the league as an AAV. It's like, okay, what am I going to have what am I going to look like on whatever website it is when you look up, career assets, and you want 3 digits. So Jeremy has an opportunity to be that guy still. And
he'll still be okay with only 66, just so we're clear.
Well, he's got the 4 from last year too. So that's 70 plus his bonus. So he's almost 75, right? Like that's literally like, okay. You count every cent, right? he's almost 75. So, but again, the expectation is different. There's no question. The expectation is long gone from like happy-go-lucky, you mean Jeremy Swayman. This is like, okay, cutthroat businessman Jeremy Swayman better bring a Stanley Cup.
Core. You wanted to be part of the core, and you are now part of the core, front and center, right?
Good for good or bad.
Right.
For good or bad.
For good or bad. Right. That's it.
And
now,
and
that's
Billy,
his MO,
right? Like a second round, like the way he played in the playoffs last season, he can't be less than that, or it's on him, right? Like that's the bar he set. So that's kind of that expectation and that pressure that goes for all of these guys who are the best in the league. That, again, like a Sorokin, he wasn't like the worst player in the league, but you think he was compared from New York because he was bad in the playoffs. He didn't play in the playoffs. He's an $8 million guy. What are we doing? Like that comes up as soon as one bag goal comes now. it's not just like balancing and Linus will take the next start and we forget about Jeremy's bat. It's here for
He can't
stay.
rest his way through it now. Although, and I'm going to get to something with Korpisalo in a moment, he's got to play his way through it now. Correct. That's the bigger difference, right? Now, he relishes that, and I've been on a couple of shows already this morning too, talking about his nickname, as we know, is Bulldog. I mean, this is what he wants. He wants to be the Bulldog. He wants whatever, even more ferocious than that. So he is willing, I know, to put him in, wanting to put himself in this position. I think that's why he held out for even more, because he was going to say, this is my spot right now. With all that said, partner, okay, as a former NHL goalie yourself, how do you accept more criticism quickly if it happens? How much does it affect you? Did it affect you after your holdout and then when you came back in the mid 2006?
Yeah, I think I think you have to kind of go through it in different parts, and I think it'll be new for Jeremy taking this on. But again, I think the sample size that we have, which is long enough now to know that he'll be able to beat his way through it and fight his way through it. Or at least they again, all you can do is go off of prior history and other players that you've had that are like that, and what teammates think of them, and coaches and people being around him. And again, everyone, he checks all of those boxes, that he will have days where he's criticized more heavily than he has been in past, and more similar to what Tuukka Rask was criticized like, or other NHL goalies in different markets. And he's expected to take that on. So
I wonder Razor, sorry, if part of wanting to help set the goalie market, I wonder if he has in some ways, because here he has set a value for a guy that hasn't been a full-time number one starter before. Now, you could argue, well, he had leverage, yes, but he also didn't have, it was up and down, back and forth.
Yeah.
So in some ways, he got more than UC Saros, who accepted 7.8 to stay in Nashville for 8 years. And you can massage it any way you want, or manufacture numbers any way you want. There's less tax in Tennessee, et cetera, all that stuff. So maybe the value is actually equal per year, regardless. But when it's all said and done, he probably did set a little bit of a different market now for the goaltender union.
Absolutely. No question he did. And I hope that's not really what he was trying to do, to be honest. I hope he said that as a negotiating kind of thing, and they had talked about it, and this is a good talking point. But I hope he didn't sit there saying that, because it doesn't really work like that.
No.
But there's no question, Jake Ottinger's licking his lips in Dallas right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's 10. Automatic. Yeah. He's 10. All right. Swayman did this. I've done this. Plus, right. I'm the same age. I'm the same guy, the same thing. I'm a first rounder, not a fifth rounder. I'm 10. Done. Yeah. So there's guys out there that have absolutely benefited from this deal.
All right. Boston is now spending 13% of their cap on goaltenders. Mm-hmm. They have Sway, and then they have Korpisalo. And he's at $3 million. And my numbers, look, I took this off Puckpedia. It's by the way, little aside, Puckpedia, good for them. They're doing their best. They're
stepping up.
They're stepping up. They're making, they're making changes regularly, everything. And so I appreciate all that they do there. Montreal is first at 17%, but a lot of that is Carey Price.
That's right.
Getting paid 10.5 and not playing. But then Florida, with Bobrovsky's 10 million, is second at 16. Boston and the Islanders, here's Sorokin again, are tied for third, at 13% each. Winnipeg at 12%, and then Tampa with Vasilevsky at 12%. Are you comfortable? We have to be comfortable with it this year. I look at this and say, this should be a pretty damn good tandem again. With Korpisalo, I don't mind him playing 30 games. I don't need Swayman to play 62 to 65 to justify it just yet. Maybe next year it's 58 to 60, but why not 52 and 30 or 54 and 28 in theory? Again, playing everything out, everybody stays healthy. I think this could be a freaking outstanding tandem again. Do you agree with that assessment? And are you okay with the amount of money being spent in the goaltending?
I am, because everything's set. Because they have low rise still on short money. They still have the Beechers, the Geekies, the Fredericks of the world on shorter money.
This year, though, for this year.
This year, we're just talking this year. Let's not.
Right.
Yeah, going forward, I don't see Joonas Korpisalo finishing his 4-year deal in Boston. Let's put it that way. Like,
Yep.
I don't see a scenario where that happens. I think what happens is he plays great this season. Plays 35 times. Swayman plays 50 times. And he plays great. He has great numbers, and he becomes an asset over the summer, if not maybe a little earlier, depending on what's going on in the league and if someone needs a goalie that's played in the playoffs come March, and you have Swayman killing it, and you have Korpisalo killing it, and you can get a veteran backup goaltender in a deal with a first rounder or a prospect or a right winger or something you need, Korpisalo is a fantastic asset because he is only $3 million at this point. You might have to retain a little salary. You could give him to a good team for $2 million and hold, so I think right now it's perfectly fine. And again, if it is maybe one more year, the cap's going to go up $4 million this year. So that kind of offsets, and maybe you can get more. So long-winded way of saying it's completely fine because of the rosters constructed this way. They still have about $2 million, give or take a roster spot that they can start building for the deadline. And I think that it's a good thing they have Korpisalo to play the 30 games. I do. That's just the history of this, and I think they're completely fine doing it. You don't need to run Swayman into the ground just because he's making $8 million now this year, especially.
Right. Just for context, teams that are at the bottom of the percent spent on goaltenders: Edmonton and Toronto at 4%, Colorado at 5%, Dallas, the aforementioned Dallas Stars with Jake Ottinger, at 6%.
That's a beautiful one.
Yeah, that's I think that's really, really sweet because, as you see, he's up at the end of this year. He had 3 times 4.
Yeah.
Colorado played Georgiev $4 million, I believe it was, to match that type of thing. I don't know what you think of Georgiev, you personally and you in general, but we know Toronto's goalie situation is whatever, always been crazy. Can Wall step up this year for them? And Edmonton got Stuart Skinner inked to a 2.7, I think, deal because they didn't have anybody else. And they're already paying Jack Campbell, who, by the way, went into the player assistance program. I hope he gets himself help quickly and very, I hope he comes out well, thinking of him there. But they were paying him $5 million on that. So anyways, those are just to give context to things. I do think best case scenario, Razor, as you just brought up, is that Korpisalo becomes a major asset, whether it's this year or going into next year. I do. Both for the Bruins on the ice and then potentially moving him as well.
And for himself.
And of course, yeah.
Like he doesn't want to be here for 4 years because he knows he's carrying clubs for 4 years if he is doing that. He wants to have a great season. He wants to play awesome for his 30, 35 games, and he wants to go be a starter again. Yeah.
A couple of other little nuggets, and we'll wrap up this chat and get actually to the whole Bruins thing. Other 25-year-old goaltenders, which is what Jeremy Swayman is. The aforementioned Jake Ottinger. He's at 3 times 4. Skinner, 3 times 2.6, 2.7. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen just signed a 5-year deal at 4.75 with the Buffalo Sabres. How did that go for not him, just Buffalo? Same Buffalo team to start the season. Yeah, holy smokes. Exactly. And then Spencer Knight, who had some issues as well, and hopefully he's back and healthy and for a complete season. He's at 3 times 4.5. That was the deal that he signed. So that's another reason why Florida, between him and Bobrovsky, are spending so much money on goaltenders. Just to give, again, some understanding, some numbers, some context to the situation. When it's all said and done, as Razor, you mentioned, as we're talking about, Swayman is now signed for 8 years. He's got some no trade stuff in there as well after his first 2 years. He seems very happy, excited to go. They prepared a video. I'm assuming this was agreed upon late Saturday night, and then Sunday morning they had everything figured out for the videos and for the ice time and everything. And then, as you said, he's on the plane, got himself down to Florida with the team. And right now the team is dealing with some crappy weather down there. Getting ready to probably go practice over at what is a very beautiful practice facility for the Florida Panthers, about a mile away from where they're staying. All right, let's talk about, though, this is a season preview show. We've done the Swayman stuff. The Boston Bruins heading into this season, couple of question marks heading in. Matt Poitras, Max Jones, right? Tyler Johnson. But nothing, at least in my eyes, too paramount that should or could hold them back from a very solid, if not spectacular start. The last couple of years, you brought it up in a previous show, the Bruins really have gotten off hot, and it's been key to their success. I don't need them to go 10-0 again. I sure wouldn't mind seeing, 7-2-1, 6-3-1 type of thing, just to give them that kind of, not breathing room, but stability in the standings. Let's talk about the biggest question marks for this team, Razor, heading into the season. Now that they got Swayman signed, I think we both agree that the goaltending shouldn't be an issue. We agree? Yes?
Agree.
All right.
Yes,
you're not
agreed.
watching on YouTube, there you go. Yes, Razor's nodding and agreeing. My biggest concerns, questions. Let's start with where the goal's going to come from, especially second line right wing. It appears, we don't know the lines from practice today just yet, but one would assume that it is Morgan Geekie's spot to begin. So that's a question mark. Not just Morgan Geekie, but in general, from those top six guys, we think that Zacha, Pastrnak, and Lindholm will provide offense. But do the Bruins have enough from the second line offense? Is that a fair concern question in your eyes to start the season?
That's a question, correct. That's certainly a fair question to ask.
All right. So is this where the Tyler Johnson signing could, and he hasn't been signed yet, and I don't know when they can, I don't know if they can sign him right away due to movement of players, and they've got a little bit of wiggle room with the cap. They have some money left, but they still got to move a couple of other players, it appears, down to the American League or clear them if they can. It appears, right, that Morgan Geekie gets that chance. Is this just a open kind of door policy, so to speak, on that right side? And are you okay with going into the season like that?
Well, I'm okay with it going into the season at this point. I think you can give him an opportunity. I think he proved last year when he was moved up into the lineup. He played a lot in the first line at certain times last season that he is able to score goals. He's got a good shot. He's got a good sense. He's going to fit with Charlie Coyle just in the fact they're big bodies that protect the puck and get in deep, and he's very responsible. So it's not, I don't expect him to score 35 goals by any means and break out like that. But I think at this point right now, to start the season, they can win games with him there. It's more of kind of that long view. It's, you wonder if that's enough when you look at some of the other second lines, even in the Atlantic division, that have 30, 40 goal scorers on their second line. The Bruins don't look like they have that, even though Brad's done it before. I don't think he's considered a 40 goal scorer anymore. He's more of a 25 to 30 guy.
Agreed.
Coyle's a 20 to 25 guy, hopefully, if he can do that.
Coyle's got to get 60 points again this year.
Correct. And then Geekie's got to get 20 goals. So if they got 60 goals from that second line as it's constructed now, and their power play is clicking again, then I think they have enough scoring. If it goes cold early, then that might be frustrating and that might be difficult. So again, I think if you think about, if we want to make the comparison to where they were starting the season last year, I think there was more concerns about where the goal scoring was coming from because there was no Lindholm and we didn't know what half of the team was going to be like up front. I think it's in a better place that way, but it's still not as good as what the high-end talent is in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, and you bring up the Atlantic. I mean, in particular, Florida and Toronto. Correct. With that offense.
And then even Tampa, right? The Braden Points of the world.
Yeah. I mean,
Jake Gensel's, Kucherov's.
But Gensel, Kucherov, and Point probably be their top line. And that's a heavy-duty top line.
It's a big boy line.
That's a Mac Daddy line. And then what do you got for the next? I don't have their roster in front of me just yet, but still pretty good. But you're right. The Bruins, it appears, are going into this season, again, having Swayman and then with their defense in front of them that they've constructed, saying, we're going to be a defense-first team.
Yes.
Now, the question is, can you win enough games when it matters most if you can't add to this team? Or if you don't get somebody stepping up, whether it is a Geekie, whether it is a Brazo. Can one of those two guys, Geeky had 17 last year.
Yeah.
Can he get
pretty
20?
good? Yeah.
Can
He's got to go to
Brazo
22,
get 17?
23.
Can he jump to 17 in a full season? Who else? Who else has to step up? You got to look at the back end. Well, Frederick for sure. Yeah. And he had career highs. But the back end, right? I mean, you need more production.
That's right.
I mean, that's where I think, Barry Peterson, our guy from Nesson that we love to work with, talked always about for years and years. Your offense starts with your defense, and it's not just breaking the puck out, but it's also supporting the play. He's always said that. It seems obvious, but sometimes you need to keep hearing it. It's true. They're going to need more production. Can they get it from those guys? I think that's it feels like they can, but it's a big question mark, Razor. Can Lindholm, can Lindholm, can he elevate back to 2 years ago? Can Mason Lowry add, I don't even know, what's a realistic point total for a kid like that? Can you get 30? Is that too low for a guy with his instincts, and his ability?
I would even take 25 this year, 7 and 18.
Okay. Well,
right.
And then the other guy is McAvoy, right? He needs to elevate the offense a little bit more too. I guess the question, as we comment about it, is it enough? Is that enough? Well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see, but it sure feels like they're going to need a couple of guys. I think all the guys that we just mentioned, to the aforementioned players, that are going to have to step up to another level that they had last year. I think if this team's going to be very successful.
Yeah, the back end almost has to go back to what they were 2 years ago in the record-breaking season where Lindholm was up and down the ice. And again, Barry's talked about, we've talked about it year after year at this point, getting pucks through from the point.
Yes.
Getting greasier, uglier goals. They still don't do a lot of that. The D doesn't. Zadorov has, I would say, he's probably got the hardest shot now on the back end. He's just a big monster. He can hammer it.
Yeah.
But the McAvoys got to score goals from the point with a shot. They've got to beat
the power
guys.
play now.
Exactly. Lindholm, Lowry's got to find a way to start sizzling his shot through. So yes, that's where those extra goals were. Lindholm got 3 goals last year.
Yeah, right.
He should get 3 goals in a weekend.
Yeah.
At some point this year. Like that seems that's really low. Like I'm taking the over on him getting 3 goals with his eyes closed. I think he really was down last year offensively.
Yeah, really, if you get 8 to 10 and 30 plus assists, right? Now you're back to that couple of years ago.
That's right. And
I'd love to get 60,
out
70.
That's your like 10th of a goal per game up.
Right.
Right.
I'd love to have a D-man that's bringing you 70 points. And Charlie is elevated at times, but he's going to get even more of a chance with this first power play unit where Lindholm will be the bumper position. And, I think Charlie McAvoy absolutely has the responsibility to bring the offense a bit more. There's no question about, and I think he can. We've talked about it on the show and everything already, that this is another opportunity for him to elevate his status. We already know he's a high level defenseman, but can he reach that elite level defenseman? We've talked about it on Nesson. Bricks mentioned it as well. It's important that he does this year, but he's in his prime, man. He is now really entering that sweet spot prime of physical and mental approach to the game.
Correct. He's got his deal. He's all set. 26, having a family, et cetera, et cetera. He's got to get 56. I'm just looking. 56 is his career high. 10 goals, 46 assists. He had 12 goals last season. 15 and 50.
There you go. There's your 65 guy, right? There you go. And that's what most high-level teams have. They have that one guy that can bring at least 50, if not 60 points from the back end. It changes the dynamic of things. So I think that's huge. No question to me, though, the return of Hampus Lindholm is maybe the biggest thing on the back end in my eyes. If you disagree, or not disagree, but if you got a different one, you let me know. You have a different, I think Hampus's play will impact the top 6 significantly.
It will, and it will impact McAvoy's play if they're playing together, because I think that's the one, right? Like that's the top pair.
Seems like to start that will be the one.
Yeah, and if they're playing together, then one of those guys can go all the time.
All right, then drivers up front for me have to be. You mentioned Trent Frederick. I think, and I've already said it on one of our preseason shows. This is a contract year for Freddie. We had him on, and and he's got his goals and his journaling and everything. I see. I got it. I want to see 50 plus points out of him. I do. I think he's ready for that. I don't know more than that, but that would be beautiful. I think he's got to drive. I already mentioned Coyle needing to get back 260 points, and then one of a Brazeau and a Geeky helping out on that right side. If they're and we assume Tyler Johnson, but until we know officially, I'm going to stick with Brazeau and Geeky. One of those two guys, I'd like to think has to hit 20.
I'm going to go with Brad Marchand.
Okay.
3 surgeries. He grinded through last year. He had 67 points the last 2 seasons. The season before that, he had 80. I'm looking for him to split that difference and get into that 75, 78 range where he's getting 30 goals. He had 29 goals last year, and he went cold the last 2 seasons, like later in the season. Mm-hmm. He needs to continue to drive that second line. That's where the scoring is coming from right now. He needs to get a shot going early. He needs to shoot pucks. He needs to get going on the power play as well. There's been stretches the last 2 seasons where it went real cold, probably because of injury, in hindsight with the surgeries that he's had in the off seasons. He stays healthy, not just playing 82 games because he's grinding through it, but like healthy, good games, and gets into the 30 goal mark again, into the 50, 45 assist mark. That's the guy that beyond Frederick, beyond the guys who are doing it from the bottom up, he's the top end guy that they need to just deliver a little bit more offensively.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see again, can he drive it on the power play as well? Do they tweak their power play? Do they just stick with, do they make, I know right now he's in theory going to be there, but do they tweak it, make 2 units where he's with another unit? And the power play has been, I don't know if interesting is the right word. It has been inconsistent. It's been inconsistent. Let's see if the addition of the bumper of Elias Lindholm makes as much of a difference as they think it can, and we hope it will. I do think his reads are excellent. I think his comfort in that spot is real, and so I hope that it does. I hope it does create more options and looks for the guys out there. Maybe does it open up again, moving another player to there, and then you make 2 units. Does Freddie get more of an opportunity on the power play? I think Brazeau will be out there on the second unit for sure. I'm assuming it's going to be Elias Lindholm's line along with Marchand and McAvoy to begin the season as your top unit. And then after that, I'm assuming as well that it would be Mason Lowry running the second unit alone. I think over Hampus Lindholm. That'll be interesting to see. Or do they go 2D and 3 forwards? I think that Brazeau and Frederick are no-brainers for that second unit. The question is, who is the other guy? Is it a Geeky? Is it a Tyler Johnson if he signs? The simplification of the second unit has been very different than some of the lower percentage plays we've seen from the top unit at times. Well, anyway, things to consider, but they're going to need, I go back in, they're going to need one of those 2 or 3 guys to really elevate their game to add. I think we need one of those guys to hit 20 goals this year.
Mm-hmm. They do for themselves and for the team. And you kind of have to piece it. You have to grab the good news is they don't need a guy just out of nowhere to get 50. Right? Like they don't need anyone to just explode to score. They just need that extra 2% from 4 or 5 guys that will chip in those goals over an 82 game season to add 30 more to their total.
Speaking of a 50 goal guy, we haven't really even talked about Pastrnak, which is kind of scary, maybe lame on my part. We haven't gotten there yet. What are we thinking of his year? I mean, his purpose is winning a Stanley Cup. He's made that clear. That's the most important thing. He is such a focal point for this team. He is a leader for this team. It really is fun to see, cool to watch the transformation from a still happy Pasta, but it's always good day in Pastaville, but he is really matured and that's, you hope is going to be part of the natural progression, but it seems to be that he's there. What kind of a year do we expect and need to see out of him, Razor?
Well, you hope for a healthy one. He's gone back-to-back 82 games. And I mean, he's going to score. He's just going to score. And I think with Lindholm, that takes some pressure off of him individually last season, not always having the same, it was always Zacha and Pasta, but it kind of moved around beyond that. I think having 3 guys together with him all season long will benefit him. The power play should benefit him moving it over onto the other side. There was a lot of times they tried Zach on the bumper over on the left, and I think moving it over to the right should allow him to disappear a little bit more and score more power play goals than he did last season. There just weren't a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the season coming into this season is certainly more favorable for David Pastrnak than it was last season, not knowing how it was going to work at center ice. I think Lindholm solidifies that, and you expect David to get us 100 points and his almost challenge 50 goals and his couple highlight reel plays, couple highlight reel breakaways. Like, that's just what he is now. Like, you can set your watch to that, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I just expect 100.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. You talked earlier about 100 sheets for guys in the NHL want to see that. I just want to see 100 points out of Boston. I think that we'll get it. All right, look, again, we're sitting and recording this on Monday morning before the Bruins have hit the ice in Florida as they are practicing down there, folks. Let's just take our best guess, crack at the lineup for opening night. We don't know the status of Matthew Poitras. It doesn't feel like he's going to be ready.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they're dropping him into the first game if he's against Florida, if he hasn't really.
And we don't know the status of Max Jones, who appeared to get, I don't know, re-injured or something again, the night against Washington, where he ended up not finishing the game there. So, but that's again, just, guessing, so to speak. But if those two guys aren't in, I think we both agree on, let's start with the defense. I think we both agree that you'll see Lindholm McAvoy and Lowry Carlo. I like that pair. And then Zadorov Peak. I like that pair as well. Do we both agree on that? That's where you start. And then Wotherspoon is your 7.
Yep.
We know that Jonas Korpisalo is going to start on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten into when do they start Swayman. Do you think he could start Thursday, though?
I do.
You do, huh?
I do.
You do. You think he can parachute in enough time?
And especially because the weekend, they have 2 afternoon games, Saturday, Monday. That gets a little, we've talked about that, injury guys. I think practice Sunday, practice Monday, hard pregame skate for him Tuesday, probably a day off Wednesday, good pregame skate Thursday, go play the game Thursday.
I could see him going on the ice Wednesday as well, even if the Bruins get in late.
Yeah, he might have a little goalie skate, get a little twirl, get the extra shots.
Okay.
But yeah, I see him playing Thursday night at home. Big ticket, everyone happy. Montreal, like, he's going to want to play that game.
Okay. So, but we know the Korpisalo, well, we think at least that's what Montgomery said.
It could also be, it could be tomorrow night too, right? Like, he could get off the ice today and say, I'm playing tomorrow night. Like, now he gets to do that. He's got $8 million. He gets to tell everyone when he wants to play. So
that will be interesting. All right. Now let's take a crack.
That's a good point. Like, there is a 5% chance we see him go out on the ice Tuesday night, just for everyone's, like, it's not locked in stone just because Monty said it a week ago when he wasn't signed and that was part of the deal. Like,
well, maybe. that would be interesting.
Thursday night.
All right. So we know the Lindholm line.
Yep.
Zacha left, Pastrnak right. We know Coyle in the middle, and we know Marchand on the left. Assuming Geekie on the right
Geekie.
to begin?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't see them.
Now you're talking. Now we get to the third line. And if Poitras isn't ready to go, if he's not, do you put Trent Frederick in the middle there? And again, this is why, the Bruins have some extra players up, and this is probably why they can't sign Tyler Johnson as of we sit down and record this brew, because they have guys, a couple of, we'll call them, potential call-up guys or tweeners that are still up. A Riley Tufte, for instance, a Cole Koepke, who, by the way, I think has done a really nice job with his preseason opportunity. Well, we know that Trent Frederick is there unless, he's your option for center there, I would think, unless you're talking about moving who else? Do we think Beecher on the 4th line left wing? Is that set in stone and Kastelik in the middle?
Yeah, I feel like that they want to keep that 4th line together.
I think Koepke's got a chance of breaking camp on that 4th line opening night.
Yeah, I agree. And move Brazeau up to the right with Frederick.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think he's had such a good camp, and having the 2 injuries just opened things up for him. He gets an opportunity to break camp and play opening night. I think that's if there's injuries like there is, you give the opportunity to the guy who had the best camp. That's good for your organization to do that and not base it off anything else but that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. And again, we need updates. We need updates on
Yeah.
Patra and Max Jones. And that will then help kind of solidify the lineup. But we will know, I'm going to say in about 2 hours or so, they'll be hitting the ice, I think, down in Florida. And we'll probably get a feel of the lineup. At least we hope so. This is a perfect time to recognize the sponsors. And folks, this year, we've got some new sponsors that we are so proud to have part of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Some old sponsors as well that we couldn't be more thankful for as well. And we want to tell you about a couple of them here that are part of this show. One of them is Graciano Construction. They serve the greater Boston area, Metro West, and more. You want to refresh, revitalize your space, go to GracianoConstruction.com. You can call them as well at 508-330-7589. Graciano Construction is the contractor who helps makes your space just feel better. They can do it all. Literally, they can do it all. And they do it with pride and respect. I've dealt with them numerous times. They are phenomenal to work with. Doug Graciano and his crews are awesome. Go to GracianoConstruction.com. Check out the website, or again, give them a call, 508-330-7589. And if you want to just see what they're all about, their website is wonderful. Go check it out. Again, they will do it all. Thank you to Graciano Construction for coming on board with Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Also, big thank you to RTN Realty. So if you're not building a house or creating a space, you want to just either buy, sell, or lease a space, take a look at rtnrealty.com. Chris Gentile and his staff of 16, they've got you covered. And nothing is too big or small for them, Razor. They'll take care of anything you need. Chris has over 2,500 transactions made in his career. And you can call him directly at 617-835-0845 or visit rtnrealty.com. He's a hockey guy as well. He's a Morning Brew guy. He's a hockey guy. He loves it. And he sells all of his license in Mass and New Hampshire and Rhode Island. So check out rtnrealty.com. Wonderful to have both those guys involved. And we also have somebody that is near and dear to our heart, back, Razor. And did you get to use your Sparks machine? You were busy this weekend. You were at the rinks.
The Sparks was buzzing. I'm sure Chris Gentile used his Sparks this weekend. I'm sure his was buzzing. And there's 100,000 Sparks out in the market. And I think all 100,000 of those people were at Marlborough this weekend or at one of the rinks around Marlborough in the New England area. So, yes, I got my 6 games in. My kids all used the Sparks machine down in the basement on their own, the official partner of the Boston Bruins. The Bruins equipment staff put it on the plane yesterday afternoon, sent it down to Florida. Their Sparks machine's buzzing as well, ready to go. So it's literally the best. We talk about the Sparks machine all the time. It's the best hockey purchase that I have. Yep. The kids do it on their own. They go down in the basement, they buzz it, a little responsibility for them. And I don't have to go to a random store in the middle of the afternoon on Friday and fight traffic to have them all teed up. No excuses for my kids either. So save time and money, sharpen at home, save $50 with the code BREW50, BREW50 at sparkshockey.com.
It is awesome. And there's actually something very gratifying about just getting your kids' skates done, or they get them done. And then you just I don't know, for me at least, I actually don't even mind doing it. Like, I like when Jake does it, but when I do it, it's actually relaxing. I get it done. They're cleaned up, ready to go for the weekend. I feel like I've done my part. So thank you to Graciano Construction, RTN Realty, and Sparks Hockey for being along for the ride this year. This year, speaking of the Atlantic Division, Razor, as we do this season preview show, is going to be tough again. Now, I don't know if it's as completely a have and have not division as it was in the past couple of years, but it still feels to me that Boston, Florida, Tampa, and Toronto are the top 4 teams. I just don't see it being different. I see Detroit making a step. Not totally enamored with their goaltending, but is it better with Cam Talbot? Are they going to have a rotation there? I think probably so, but I do think with the maturation of guys like Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond and some of the other guys that they've added, that they should be better and they could push. After that, I don't know if the other teams are ready to still make a push, the Ottawas and Buffalo. Whoa, Buffalo. But the Atlantic top 4 is going to be tough. I think it's going to be really, really tough. Is there a better top 4 in the NHL than those?
No, not that deep. I think there's just as good top twos or just as good top threes, possibly like a Central Division or the Pacific. Metro as well, possibly the top two. I think Jersey's good. I think Rangers, but not like the Atlantic, not deep like the Atlantic. Those top four, it feels like the Bruins and the Florida Panthers, especially the Florida Panthers, are like, we're just going to get in. Doesn't matter where. We don't have to win divisions. We don't have to do, we just need to get our game at the end. I think the Bruins are a little bit like that. Maybe
I think
not.
they need to be like that. I do. I think they need, that's what I was saying much earlier about, I don't need 10-0, 6-3-1. I mean, that can be the kind of year. Hey, what I don't give a shit if they end up in third place.
No, it doesn't matter
anymore.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be, they're going to play
at the end.
They're going to play Toronto or Florida or Tampa in the first round, right? Like that's kind of the assumption. It's going to be one of those three teams, no matter what happens, no matter what they do. So you just kind of plod along the season, and I see it that way. I think Tampa's the question mark, but I'm not going against Hedman, Vasilevsky, Kucherov. I think they find their way into it. They're just a little bit different than what they have without Stamkos. Their pieces are a little bit different than what they have in the past compared to the other three teams. But no, Buffalo's already down -2. They've got to find a way to go +15, +16 to get in the playoffs already.
And with injuries too.
What's that?
With injuries.
With injury, yeah, just beat the heck. And their goaltending, I'm not sold on it yet. They're still a little young. Detroit, same thing. The goalies are an issue. Ottawa, I because I like Linus and because I like Travis Green, I know
they
both
could
of them
make issues for people.
I think they're the ones that provide issues, but they could also they've been the most disappointing team in the National Hockey League for 10 years, so I'm not banking on them doing anything. I don't really love a lot of those pieces to really lead. But if I'm picking out of that bottom of the Atlantic or picking a team that could challenge Tampa, from my point, it's Ottawa, but I'm still not betting on it.
Okay. So we have Ottawa and Detroit, one of each. I'm taking Detroit, you're taking Ottawa. And let's see what,
we're both probably going to be wrong.
No, we might. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if 5 teams out of the Atlantic made the playoffs over.
Yep. I agree. I think the Metro's down a little bit.
Yeah. To me in the Metro, and I don't really want to focus on them much, but New York, definitely the best on paper. Let's see what kind of year Shesterkin has. Let's see where this contract situation goes with him. If it does anything to him, it could be unbelievably good, and it could be, it could be a deterrent, so to speak.
And you know what my other thing with the Rangers is really is in goal is Quick was awesome last year. And can he do that again? Like he was down in LA for a few seasons. He was amazing, got a bunch of wins for them last year. I'm not sure he gets the same wins that he did. And that, even if it's 4 to 6 points difference, that's what Quickie did for them last year.
Yep.
That might go down a little bit too. So that's my only thing with the Rangers.
Fair point. Yeah, I mean, they're still a very good team. Are they built for the playoffs? The wait and see. That's going to be interesting. That I think will be the question about them. I do think New Jersey's better. I'm not sure I'm ready to jump on full bandwagon with them.
They're going to have a great regular season.
They should have a very, very good look. Timo Meier, if he steps up, he hasn't stepped up for them yet. Jacob Markstrom, who they got net, he steps up right there. 2 pieces. Healthy Dougie Hamilton. Say what you want, whatever about him. Regular season, Dougie.
Yep, it's fine.
He could be 70 points, right?
Yep,
if not more.
Yeah, you can hammer it. No, they're built much better. They did a good job this summer.
Much better, right? My question after that is, I actually think the Islanders are going to be a little bit better. I'm not sure about the Islanders in Carolina. Some people think Carolina's going to be just fine. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I really think they're going to be.
Yeah,
so
they lost a lot of good pieces.
A bit more. All right, so that's taking a look at some of the other teams, some of the other divisions. I mean, we've got a great schedule coming up for the Bruins. This is not an easy start of the year, though, Razor. This is, now I do think that they have an opportunity going down to Florida, even with the injury or two that they have, to do very well against a Florida team that is different. They don't have their depth on the back end. No Ekman Larson there, no Montour. Those are big differences.
Montour's a big one.
Big loss for them. They don't have their fourth line is almost all brand new. Lawrence is gone. Now he was a fourth line role player for them. Lombard is gone. He's out in Calgary. They couldn't afford what he was going to get. Nosek, in fact, old Boston Bruin Nosek is there in Florida. I know he got hurt middle of the preseason. I don't know if he's still hurt or not. Regardless, it's a different look. So I'm not sure if this, Bruins, I think they could take a bite out of the Panthers, so to speak, on Tuesday night down there. Then they come home and they play Thursday against Montreal, who is better. The Canadiens are a better team. They're a ways away, though. They're still a ways away, but that's opening night.
They're a better one punch. Like they're like the Ottawa the last few years where they can score. They're going to go right. Marty's going to have them going, and they're going to be prepared. So you never know. But yeah,
they're going to be energized, and they're going to be tough to play against. But now you got to, and then you have LA on Saturday, and then you mentioned what is it, Florida again on Monday?
Yeah,
who is it on Monday? So that's a tough schedule to start the season, and everybody's going to have to get involved. Razor,
correct. You're going to need you can't rely on one line right out of the gates. You're going to need everyone cooking right off the bat. So, but again, it 2 afternoon games at home. Those are opportunity. Like, be ready to go, and that's the key. And that's what this team's done very well, better than any other in the league the last 2 years. Is they've been ready and prepared and very focused on these games early in the season. And if they do that again this week, they get off to a good start. Life's good.
That LA team, I didn't realize it was like an 18-day trip to start the season.
I literally thought about it when we were just talking, like over the last 45 minutes. I was like, oh, LA's been out here for this long, and they're starting out here, and they've just stayed out here, and that's good or bad. I don't know.
Well, renovations to it used to be Staples. It's now a Crypto. Is that what it's called? Crypto.com, the Crypto.com arena. Whatever. So they're doing renos there. I just found that out the other day. And so, yes, they were on, folks. The LA Kings have been on the road since a full day and a half before they played the Bruins in Quebec City. And they stayed in Quebec City to play a second preseason game. And then they head on the road to open in Buffalo, who's coming back from Europe, as Razor said, down -2 already. Then they come to Boston to play an afternoon game. And then they're on the road another game or two. So it's upwards of 16 or 17 days, maybe 18 with travel. Because I think they go back, but they're still, I don't know. They're out west,
like in Anaheim or San Jose or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I was informed that yes, that's why.
What a beating! It's so nice to be in Manhattan Beach right now. This is the best time to be in Manhattan Beach. Missing
it really
that.
is.
Jeez, what a beating!
Just beauty. All right. So overall, let's start wrapping this one up. But season preview means we're not sitting here and saying how far the Bruins going to go. I'm bullish on them. They're not a perfect team. I think they're better built for the playoffs. I think that. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. They are. Right now, they are. Size does matter. Now, can these guys, Razor, does size, they've got the size, but do they have enough, not just finish, but do they have enough ability to keep up with some of the other teams and stuff skating-wise? Is that a concern from you, or are you okay with it right now?
No, I think the back end's mobile enough. I think they're mobile enough. The McAvoys, the Lindholms, Peaks, it's pretty good. Peaks maybe the slowest. Like Zadorov's got he's big and rangy, but like he can move though. And I don't think Peaks a slow player by any means. I just compared to the 6 of them. I think their back end is more than mobile enough and certainly long enough to disrupt on a consistent basis. They don't have any speedsters up front by it, but they've proven that they play fast enough. They move the puck fast enough. And they're heavy now, so that forecheck's going to look a little bit different than what it has.
Yeah, they're definitely a heavier team. They're definitely a team that, in theory, should be able to protect pucks more. They should be able to do more with it. Hopefully, get the D involved more. If there's a weakness, I do think it's just going to be goal scoring. I do. And again, it's not that depth goal scoring, which we've already gone through. But if we look at strength and weaknesses of this team, it's that. I want to ask you about one or two other things before we wrap it up. The addition of Jay Leach as an assistant coach, a defensive-minded guy, defensive coach. You've been on so many different teams and everything, and coaching gets a lot of credit and gets a lot of heat, both unfairly and fairly and everything. What do you think that does for this team? And it just should be recognized, I think, as we're doing a season preview show, that they have. They added him to the staff, and here's a former, organizational guy as well. How much impact do you think he can have?
I think, he can have serious impact. I think we'll know or have a better idea of what that exactly looks like or is as the season goes on. We'll start to get a feel and start to ask a little bit more. I've seen him. I talked to him. He's happy to be back, but I didn't really dig in. Like, okay, what's your responsibility? What do you really feel? What do you want? What are your thoughts? We'll get more of that as this goes on. But he's very familiar. He knows all the coaches. Monty has a great lead. He communicates. He delegates very well, and I'm sure he's delegated Jay Leach, who's been around long enough now to handle big responsibility as an assistant coach, and he'll fit in really well with Sacco and Kels.
I agree. I think it's a great ad. I do. It's rounding out the coaching staff. I mean, I think
he's not going to just sit back and be told what, like, he's going to have a voice, right? He is very comfortable in his skin at this point as a coach to have a voice with this group.
Yeah. And it's great to have him back. All right. Anything else that we want to get? I want to get one other thing in, non-Bruin thing. I just thought it was so cool. You being a goalie as well. I think it's worth mentioning. Did you see what happened in Merrimack yesterday? Did you hear about this?
Mace just kind of showed me, so you're gonna have to run it down because he showed me in the car this morning, and I haven't been able to dig.
Actually, I was gonna have a segment, and I will tell you in a second. I was gonna have a segment. What did the kids say? Because between Mason and Jake, especially, we should have a segment. What the kids said, because we get goalie scouting reports from Mason, and we get Jake rides the wave.
I get half of my news from him now. He's on Instagram so much. It's
right. Same thing with I get my stuff from Jake as well. We should have a segment. What did the kids say? So Merrimack coming in to the weekend, all of a sudden finds out they're opening up against Stonehill where they already had one goalie who has a 2-game suspension by the NCAA, and then another goalie, their back gets injured. So then their e-bug, a college basically e-bug, who is their student manager. Their student manager last played goal in 2020 in Brunswick High in Maine. I'm guessing last competitive, that is. I'm guessing. His name is Spencer Marquis, and I don't know him at all or whatever. I just wanted to say, freaking awesome. The kid ended up playing in a game yesterday and lost in overtime. And he helped stop a penalty shot. They lost 3-2. And not only did he just play, he played the entire game into overtime. And good for him. And I just thought it was such a cool thing. And here he is, student manager for a team for a couple of years, and then he gets this opportunity to get in there. So teams seem to rally around him, and I just thought it was worth mentioning. I know it's not a Bruins thing, but you know what? It's our show.
Way to go, Spencer.
Way to go,
That's
Spencer.
Cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Great stuff. I love hearing that stuff because you know what? Every person deserves to have kind of a dream-like moment in their life. Whatever that is. That's awesome. Good for him. All right. Well, this was a dream-like moment for me. I'm back on the air with you, Razor. And by the way, folks, if you are looking at these very sharp hats, if you're watching on the YouTube channel that we have, thank you for doing that. But if you're listening and you're not seeing our hats, the hats, I can tell you, have been ordered.
Love it.
Okay. Hats have been ordered, and they're going to look more like Razor has what I would call last year's version, which has the ampersand in the middle. Mine has the hockey sticks in the middle as the quote unquote ampersand. So it is going to, hats are going to be available. Fazenda Coffee is going to be the place of distribution, and we will tell you when they are in. And we really appreciate them doing this, and also their ability to do it. So they're here. They look great. Or they're not here. They've been ordered. I mean, I think in a week or two, they're going to be in. So hats, Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor hats, high quality hats are in the offering. So be ready for those. Everything else, we're going to update you when we're going to do our next show and every show. And our next show is going to be after tomorrow night's game. So another Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor after Tuesday's game in Florida. And then we also have one planned for after the home opener on Thursday night. All right, it's going to wrap it up. We've got RC back. Thanks, RC, for figuring out a way how to get this done, buddy. RC's been on the road. He's been having fun. Good for RC. Great to have him back as well. Razor, you and I will be talking again after Tuesday's game. The season is upon us. The Boston Bruins will go into Florida to take on the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers and hopefully take it to them. Everybody, enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this season preview show. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, go out and enjoy your coffee.